We are all water babies after all. Now, I have a very, very interesting guest here. My guest is Nafisa Kopçiç.
Hello.
Nafisa here
Hello.
is an international journalist who's been living in Turkey for the past 10 years. Now, she's a very, very well accredited journalist, and she gets apparently bombarded by foreign potential lifestyle buyers and interested parties asking about Istanbul, and particularly real estate in Istanbul, which happens to be our sector. Now, since we got to chatting, and there you go, Nafisa is my guest.
I'm an international journalist. I come from Bosnia, from Sarajevo. Istanbul is my second home. I like to say I have two homes, Sarajevo and Istanbul. I really don't feel any difference anymore, except the fact that part of my family is there, part of my family is here. So anyway, and you are right. A lot of people have been asking me about where to live in Istanbul if they first arrived, for example, for work, or what to buy, or where are the good flats, or what's happening, or where is safer because of the earthquake concerns. So I'm glad I'm here today, and I hope we will answer some of those questions. But the first question I want to ask you is, what's with the sea view apartments? Everyone that I know, regardless of the part of the world, they ask me, where is the best place in Istanbul to buy a sea view apartment? What's the big deal with it?
Okay, well, as I said, this program is, we are all water babies after all. I think...
I can see you're a fan of Nirvana.
I do, the teen spirit. Well, the thing is, I think water, I think people are fascinated with water. And I think it is in our DNA. Because if you look at it, apparently, scientifically, it appears that life on Earth started in water, and then from water to land. So it seems that we've got not just a fascination with water, but water soothes us, and water is, well, 80% of us apparently is water. So sea view is not only something that we enjoy being beside and we enjoy looking at, it soothes us, it gives us tranquility, but from a financial viewpoint also, from a real estate acquisition viewpoint, it not only commands a premium, but it also is far more desirable. If you look at any segment of property, it's far more desirable than any other segment, sea view homes segment. And Istanbul being Istanbul, which is unique in its position in the world as a city where the sea divides two continents, Asia and Europe. And each side of this strait called the Bosphorus runs for around 40 kilometers. So you've got 40 kilometers of Bosphorus Strait along the European side and 40 kilometers or so along the Asian side of this magical city, amounting to almost 100 kilometers of Bosphorus.
And when you say Istanbul, it's sort of defined by the sea, the Bosphorus.
You got it.
The views.
You got it.
But on the other hand, I mean, come on, Cameron, wherever you go, there are so many restaurants, cafes where you can go and sit and enjoy the view. And I sometimes feel, because it's also a hilly city, like my own hometown, Sarajevo, it's hilly, so you can see the views from everywhere. Bad for driving, good for views, right?
Absolutely.
But so why would you spend so much money? I mean, I don't have a sea view apartment. To be honest, for me, the more important thing here was to be close to work, so not to spend so much time in traffic. So I need to tell you one funny thing. I've read it somewhere that one guy was looking for a flat, and he was so obsessed with sea view apartment that he forgot to check, does the apartment has a kitchen or other stuff, because he was just obsessed with the view. So, but who are the people who want these type of apartments?
Sea view apartments.
Yeah. And what kind of financial benefits do you get from it? Of course, obviously, I understand that they are more expensive than the others.
Well, first of all, I will pick on the very last part of your question. More expensive. Globally, when you look at properties that command decent sea views, and if you look at cities, and I actually did this analysis, I looked at Istanbul, Barcelona, New York, London, although London doesn't have a sea view, but it has the River Thames view, Thames view apartments, and also we looked at Miami, and we compared prices of otherwise exactly comparable properties, and these could even be in the same block. Exactly comparable size, furnishing, decoration, quality, everything comparable, other than one has a decent open sea view, the other doesn't. Price
So
difference.
you are saying there is a sea view and there is
no sea view.
no sea view.
The one that has a sea view will have between 35 to 50% premium to the one that doesn't have a sea view, but otherwise in every other aspect is exactly comparable, which means that people are willing to pay up to 50% higher just to have a sea view. And there's another interesting point. When you look at the shelf life of these properties, and this is a very interesting point, shelf life, which ties in exactly with what I always say, exit strategy. How quickly you can sell your property. In other words, how quickly you can turn to cash when you put your property for sale on the market. The shelf life of sea view properties is less than half the shelf life of non-sea view properties, meaning it is twice easier to sell a sea view property with a premium than a property that doesn't have a sea view, which means that from financially, yes, you're paying a great deal more, well, up to 50% more to get a decent sea view, but you're not only getting a higher rental return because people are willing to pay more than 50% more to rent a sea view property. Now, this is interesting. People are paying between 35 to 50% more to buy a sea view property, but people are paying statistically between 45 to 60% more to rent a sea view property, which means the rental yield of a sea view property compared to another property which is exactly the same without a sea view is slightly higher than slightly higher. So that's the financial benefit. But another benefit that is unseen by most is the exit strategy, as I mentioned. When you come to sell your property and realize your capital appreciation, which is why you invested, if you invested rather than buying a home, and also for a home, you want your capital growth, right? You park your money somewhere for X number of years, and when you sell, you want to make sure that investment has grown, and has grown in a handsome way to deliver a decent return. Now, it is far easier to sell a property when it has a sea view.
So let's just summarize it for our listeners and viewers. 3 main benefits of investing in sea view apartment.
Higher rental returns. Higher rental returns, easier exit strategy, and most certainly the emotional benefits, the lifestyle benefits of sipping your coffee or having your dinner in a beautiful climate such as Istanbul, where easily 7-8 months of summer we have, sitting at your veranda, sitting at your balcony or in your garden, overlooking the Princess Islands in the Marmara Sea, or if you are among that 1% highly privileged people with deeper pockets, overlooking the Bosphorus, which is spectacularly beautiful.
Spectacularly beautiful, but then also, not every sea view covers the entire panorama of the Bosphorus.
Well, obviously.
So, sometimes I remember when I first arrived people would write sea view, and then I would go and see it.
Where's the sea?
Where's the sea? And it's like tiny, tiny, tiny dots somewhere.
You got to break your neck to
from
see
the
it.
bathroom. You can see it. Maybe in the morning. No, I'm just joking. So there is a also big difference in price when it comes to that. But even
Obviously.
that little tiny view matters in Istanbul.
Do you know
right?
what? It's so interesting. I've seen properties where, like in a block, sea view starts from, say, floor 15. Anything up to floor 15 has no sea view. Floor 16, 17, you start having sea view. Floor 15, for argument's sake, is priced at 100. Floor 17, that has a partial sea view. Literally partial. I mean, you got to stretch yourself to see the sea. It has no less than 15, 20% premium. Insane. But reality.
Yeah, reality. What are the trends showing? Are more and more people looking to buy a seaside view apartments in recent months? I was wondering, because having in mind all that's going on around the world, the economic crisis, are the prices going more up and up? And I mean, in general, who are the people who are insisting on having Bosphorus view or any kind of other view, Marmara Sea view, Princess Islands view that you were mentioning?
This is an interesting question, and what I'd like to do, Nafisa, is I'd like to answer your question in two parts. First of all, I'd like to answer your question from the viewpoint of Bosphorus view, and there is a massive misconception there among particularly international buyers who are not very, very familiar with Istanbul, and then sea view. Now, when we say Bosphorus view, then you need to be positioned, your home has to be positioned along the Bosphorus. Areas such as Beşiktaş on the European side, Sarıyer, and on the Asian Anatolian side, Üsküdar, maybe Kadıköy. Now, these are the Bosphorus
these
straits.
municipalities, these are the ones with the best Bosphorus
Views.
Evet.
Now,
Yes.
you would think, wouldn't you? Oh, I can see that you speak Turkish now. 10 years and she speaks Turkish. Well, I'm sure you're fluent in Turkish, aren't you?
I am. I would
Very
say.
good.
Yes.
Very good. Now,
You have to hear it,
You have
especially
to.
if you want to negotiate about the prices.
you have
So
to. You got to speak
Yeah,
Turkish.
yeah.
If you want to negotiate, you got to speak Turkish. Now, if you look at the Bosphorus, which is quite vast, you would be forgiven in thinking that, and if you look at the hillside of Bosphorus, it's highly built, right? Densely built, and there appears to be many, many different types of properties. So you would be thinking, and we do get a lot of clients who think exactly like that in an abundance of sea view, or even not sea view, Bosphorus view properties, then they cannot understand why properties command such high prices along the Bosphorus.
Yeah, people usually assume that because we mentioned the hilly hills of Istanbul. Like my mom said, of all Istanbul, you got this apartment, and we are looking into the wall. Like, couldn't you find anything?
Couldn't you
in
find something
Üsküdar?
looking at the
Yeah,
Bosphorus?
because her idea of Istanbul
You got
from
it.
the 90s and afterwards, when a lot of people would come, especially after the war here for a holiday, and she would tell me, why are we looking at this wall? I'm like, so many beautiful views. So you would assume there's a lot.
100%.
Yeah.
A lot of people assume that there would be an abundance almost of Bosphorus view homes at reasonable prices, but there aren't. And the reason is this. If you look at the Bosphorus front, the real Bosphorus front,
When you say front, you are talking about the main, let's say,
on the Bosphorus,
on the Bosphorus, on the European side,
or the Asian side,
on the
Bosphorus
Asian side.
front properties. The Bosphorus front properties generally are very old, listed, historic properties. We call them Yalis. Now, at the last count, there were just in excess of 600 Yalis in Istanbul, which for a massive city such as Istanbul, and for such a desirable spot like the Bosphorus, 600 is a very, very, very small number. So you can imagine that those Yalis command eye-watering prices. So those Yalis are out of the reach of 99% 0.9% of population or property buyers. Like a simple 2-bedroom Yalis would command in excess of $2 million on the Bosphorus. They're very, very expensive, and understandably.
But what about
exactly
the hills above?
You go slightly away.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to the second line, like the Bosphorus has generally got a road, doesn't it? Like the Bosphorus front road. And then you've got the Yalis on the water. Then you've got the road, the avenue. And then behind that, you've got, you tend to have a few lines of nice looking, well-designed, generally well-maintained properties with big balconies overlooking the Bosphorus. They all have incredible views. Well, they command very high prices too, because most of them tend to be high quality, although some of them may be quite old, but most of them tend to be high quality, highly sought after buildings. So when you're either on the Bosphorus, the Yalis segment of properties, or the first line after the road, or the second line, again, you're talking very, very high prices where, you know, only a few highly privileged people, you know, can afford those. Then you've got the hills. When you go 500 meters, a kilometer, a couple of kilometers up the hills, because Istanbul is built on hills.
Yeah.
So you go up the hills. Now, here is the interesting thing. You would think, when you look, that up on those hills, on either side of the Bosphorus, 40 kilometers either side, you would have an abundance of properties.
Right.
Hence, they shouldn't be too expensive. Well, you're wrong. Why? Because in that segment, majority of the properties are shabby. Shabby meaning they're properties that were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. Mainly 60s to end of 90s.
And they're waiting for some better days, for some reconstruction.
They're waiting for urban regeneration. Hardly any of those properties are certified for earthquake compliance, which means that they will be renewed. They will be probably entirely knocked down and regenerated as and when urban regeneration hits those areas. Very difficult to regenerate the hillsides for many, many reasons, which I won't get into. But at least 50% of those properties do not even have proper title deeds. So as a foreign national, you wouldn't be recommended to touch that segment. So when you take that segment out,
what's left?
When you take the eye-watering prices out, then what you are left with is
So where do you go?
So where do you go? Now, so let's understand that if you are after Bosphorus views, not sea view, Bosphorus sea view, you're going to be paying a high price, okay? If you're willing to do that and able to do that, there are good options. And some of those options are new build, contemporary, very nicely done penthouse style apartments. They do exist, even in Beşiktaş, even in the heart of Istanbul, Beyoğlu Beşiktaş, but they are the most expensive real estate stock of Turkey, not just Istanbul.
Yeah, so it's something that it's not affordable for many of us.
It's not must.
So let's say
where do you
I'm
go?
your client, okay, and you know I have a small family, but I do want a sea view now because you know
you want that sea view.
Now I want, because I have a daughter and I want her to have a beautiful view in the morning, and I want to live somewhere where it's more peaceful. So okay, Bosphorus. Let's forget about Bosphorus. What's my second option? What's affordable to me, and which area would be the one that you recommend to go next?
Now, in my opinion,
and I don't want to live in the city center where it's all bustly. I've done that before I
you want the family home.
So I want a family home.
You want the sea view family home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sea view family home. But I would go for the Asian side. I would go for the Asian side, which is relatively less discovered by foreign buyers. Relatively less discovered. But I would go to the Asian side. You know where I would go? I would go to that strait between Dragos and Pendik, which includes Pendik with its fantastic marina, coming in from Pendik, kind of Maltepe, Kartal, Dragos.
Maltepe, I know, lovely
area.
Beautiful area.
That area is ideal for families, ideal for families. Peaceful, an easier pace of life, good schools, fantastic transport facilities to all over Istanbul, Sabiha Gökçen Airport on the Asian side and European side, Istanbul main airport. But they've got this incredible bonus, Princess Islands in front of them.
Oh, now I get it. So I'm looking, my view will be the Princess Islands if I'm in one of those areas.
Not just the sea, but the Princess Islands. And there are some of the most spectacular sunsets that you would ever see in Istanbul. So if I'm looking for a sea view in Istanbul and I'm looking for a family home and I want something that is a little more spacious than your urban one-bedroom tight apartment, looking for space because I have a family, that's the area I would go. Affordable still, beautiful sea views, plenty of space around you, and the spectacular Princess Island sunsets.
And what if I want to stay on the European side?
Okay.
Why do I do that? Because to be honest, I've never lived on the Asian side, so we can talk about that some other time, the benefits of this and other side. Because I don't know, when I first arrived, I was like, this is the area where I wanted to be, especially when you are alone and you want to explore the city. You wanna be close to city center, let's say, like every other young person. But now things have changed, priorities have changed, but I don't want to stay on European side. So I work on this side. So what should I do?
Where do you go?
Where do I go?
Okay. As you drive, say, from the very heart, say from Taksim area. I use Taksim because a lot of people know Taksim.
Yeah.
From Taksim area, you start driving outward toward Western European side of Istanbul. You hit an area called Zeytinburnu. Zeytinburnu is still relatively central. In fact, very central. I would consider it as central Istanbul. That's where you've got spectacular sea and city views. Now, Zeytinburnu is quite interesting because it not only has an expansive sea view in front of you, because it kind of overlooks the opening of the Bosphorus from the Marmara Sea. So you've got the opening of the Bosphorus from the Marmara Sea going toward the Bosphorus. So and then you can overlook the Beşiktaş municipality, the center of Istanbul with the high rises. So you've got a nice kind of skyline as well as the sea view. But the one thing that I would like to say about Zeytinburnu is, although Zeytinburnu itself does offer some affordable, high quality properties, similarly, when it comes to sea view, the moment you hit the sea view segment in Zeytinburnu, price goes up not by 30, 40%, by 100%. That's very interesting. Zeytinburnu is one of those areas where the premium for sea view is the highest in Istanbul.
Why? Why is that the case?
Why? I think it's because, unlike Kartal, Maltepe, where, yes, there is a premium for sea view, it's still affordable in that affordable segment. Zeytinburnu is a lot closer to the city center. So it is still regarded as the city center. So it's one of those areas where you're still in the city center, you've got this fantastic view, and including a skyline view, accessibility, the urban vibe, and some of these developments along the Zeytinburnu that offer the sea view, they're highly comprehensive developments with excellent facilities. So when you put all those things together, the difference between having no sea view and sea view all of a sudden opens a massive gap. So that's Zeytinburnu. Again, you will need to spend quite a few pennies for Zeytinburnu. So it's not going to be very, very affordable. But compared to, say, Beşiktaş, Levent, Etila, or the Bosphorus itself, is still far more affordable. Yeah. So that's like the mid-house for you in terms of affordability. Then as you drive further out, and when I say Zeytinburnu, I also include Bakırköy and the area leading up to the old Atatürk airport, that section I'm talking about. Then you go beyond. You come to Küçükçekmece, Beylikdüzü, Büyükçekmece, the lakes area, where the lakes meet the sea, the Marmara Sea. Now, That area, that zone, just like the Maltepe Kartal zone, that zone is kind of opposite Maltepe Kartal zone, so to speak.
Practically we are talking about the opposite side, what we discussed earlier.
You got it.
On the European side, overlooking the Marmara Sea, but you're mentioning the lakes as well. So it's practically, can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
That's where you are tapping into the affordable sea view zone again, particularly if you go out as far as Büyükçekmece, because Büyükçekmece is a way out, is way out from the center.
But is it connected to the center?
It is
How
connected.
do I get to work?
You've got the Metrobus, and it is connected. I don't think Büyükçekmece has a metro line, underground metro, but it has the Metrobus that goes all the way. So, connectivity is there. But if you were to drive on a good day from Büyükçekmece, good day meaning not a very dense traffic day, from Büyükçekmece to, say, Taksim area, it would take you an hour to drive. Maybe a little bit over an hour.
But if you're a foreigner who just wants to rest and spend some time in Istanbul, it's also a good place to be, because you don't need to,
you don't need to be in the
hours.
center every day necessarily.
Yes.
You don't work there.
And
it's
less
a home.
People actually need that.
I agree with you.
I feel like only very, very young people, I would say, who just want to explore.
100%. So, if you go to these areas, again, like Büyükçekmece, Beylikdüzü, certain parts of Beylikdüzü, higher quality, you will tap into the affordable sea view homes segments. And there are a few very, very decent developments that offer not just a home, but very decent facilities, including marinas, including an array of whole host of restaurants and entertainments. So there are places even out there where you've got the city within a city concept. So it's highly recommended if you are a family and looking at a more peaceful place, less hustle and bustle. You don't want to be in the city center, and you're after that tasty view to go there. But that part, I have to mention, will not have those stunning Princess Island sunsets. It's a sea view without the islands. So I think,
and if you just want to make an investment, which side would you suggest? Like, where do you see the trends going?
Okay, I would go for Kartal, Maltepe, Pendik. I would. I have my reasons for that, and my reasons are, I do love sea and island views. Even in Bodrum, when I go to Bodrum and I invest in Bodrum, or I bought and sold properties in Bodrum, I always made sure that I've got not just an empty sea in front of me, but I have movement in front of me, landscape, not just sea. That commands a premium always. And when people walk into a home and they look out toward the sea, if the sea is blank, like just sea, beautiful. But if there is movement in the sea, meaning some islands, some landscapes that form these dramatic shapes in the sea, that tends to give people that more of an impulsive, I want that kind of thing. So I would go, from an investment viewpoint, I would go Kartal, Maltepe, Pendik. But as a family, I would also go there. Because if you look at the setup of Kartal, Maltepe, Pendik, in my opinion, it's geared more toward families with wider roads. This whole promenade, the walking promenade, that goes for miles and miles and miles, very wide.
Yeah, I've been there.
One side is entirely parks, tea gardens, where people can go jogging, walking with their families. And quite often, you see families with children. When you go to the other side, Beylikdüzü, Büyükçekmece side, the vibe is slightly different. You don't see as many children walking around with their families. You don't see as many wide green areas with tea gardens. There seems to be more space on the Asian side. That I like it. I like nature. I like to get as close as I can to green and to nature. And I think the Asian side offers a little bit more of that. Not just the island view, but it's the sense of space, sense of topography space, if you see what I mean. So I would go for that for investment as well as family home. that would be my call. But some of our clients actually prefer the Büyükçekmece and Beylikdüzü side because it's busier. It's more like a city.
Interesting conversation. I would say very informative. You said we didn't plan it, we didn't script it, and it's true, we didn't.
We didn't.
But based on my own experience in Istanbul and your experience in real estate, I think our discussion was very useful.
I think so
not
too.
Many people know these things. Like they've heard just about couple of parts of Istanbul. They don't understand it very well, and they do want to know. So I think this is great platform for it. I've seen some of your other shows. So I do recommend everyone who wants to know about real estate and that are like me from some other world, like me from media, that want to know. And thank you all for watching this episode of Straight Talk. If you enjoyed our discussion, please, you can write some comments. You can ask us some questions in the comment section below the video. Then maybe Cameron can do another show about something else that could be useful for all of you guys. Until next time, from me, Nafisa Kopçiç. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Sean.